Do we have a deal, Mr. Reagan?
You know, I know this steak doesn't exist. I know that when I put it in my mouth, the Matrix is telling my brain that it is juicy and delicious. After 9 years, you know what I realize? Ignorance is bliss.
Then we have a deal.
I don't want to remember nothing. Nothing. You understand? And I want to be rich. You know, someone important. Like an actor.
Whatever you want, Mr. Reagan.
Okay. You get my body back in a power plant. Reinsert me into the Matrix. I'll get you what you want.
Access codes to the Zion mainframe.
No, I told you I don't know them. I can get you the man who does.
Morpheus.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Wing Report. I don't know really what I'm going to call this yet. I have a couple of names in mind, but I don't have anything cemented. But so we'll just call it the Wings Report for now until something comes up better, I suppose. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been promising something like this to you guys for quite a while, and it's very important that you come through on those promises, or on your word in general, because at the end of the day, you don't have too much of anything, and it's one of the few things online that people, I don't know if I'd say they appreciate it, but they at least hold you to, as they should, at least to some degree. In any case, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk a little bit about time, which I find that to have interesting correlations between Wings and DSP, Rich, Mundane Matt, so on and so forth, any locale to some degree. I think with Wings, he's an interesting, I don't want to look at him as a specimen, if I guess, when I dissect Phil, I dice him up like a piece of meat, because that's kind of all he is. It's all he's ever rendered himself to be. With Wings, I want to try to give him a little bit more than that, but that doesn't mean that he's not up for scrutiny or criticism or anything of the sort, which is kind of the whole point of this. Wings is a little bit different because, I guess from a personal standpoint, I have older siblings who used to watch Wings. Wings, 402 Thunder, Fisticuff, Mark of J, I Fly, they call him something else now, but all the greats back in those days, you know what I'm saying? Randy Savage, all them dudes. All those guys back in that early Call of Duty thing. I wasn't into any of that because I was way too young and my parents were gonna let me play it. So the only real Call of Duty I actually was able to experience was watching them, but they watched people like Wings. Wings is probably one of the first Call of Duty commentators that I ever watched. He's a camper, just in case you guys don't know, but I think there's a level to how he camps that I thought that was important, and it's sad that the tactics that he developed during his early Call of Duty days, not just as in gameplay, but in his commentary, didn't translate over to his life. That's what I'm kind of here to present you. It might be maybe 1 or 2 reports a week where we kind of break the monotony of a little bit of what is DSP, and I give you guys a little bit of something else. Because these are two people that, to be honest, are going to almost be destined to have to come to terms with each other in one way, shape, or form. One is willing to embrace it, while the other one feels that everybody around him is essentially a detriment, and if he can't profit off of them immediately, then there's no need to. If he doesn't see positive success off the rip, he won't do it because he's scared of failure. He's scared of facing failure. Wings is but like I said, that's DSP, the other one's Wings. So let's talk about Wings a little bit as it pertains to his time on YouTube, and I guess some of my time with him. I'll try to make this short, and because I can always spread this out over other other reports moving forward. Wings essentially taught me how to play Call of Duty to some degree. To be honest with you, my brothers were actually much better teachers, but he gave me an initial idea. The idea is basically this. He's one of 3 people to help me establish this. My brothers won't count, not because I don't love them. It's just they don't count in this. You know what I'm saying? Because I went through trials and tribulations and all the bloodletting with Call of Duty with them later on. But it was basically Wings, Fisticuff, and Marka J essentially shaped how I play Call of Duty. Three basic premises. 1, gun skill. To be able to put your gun on target and take down your opponent as quickly as possible, with the general expectation and understanding that there will always be another opponent. The rule of Call of Duty has always been your opponents will come in 2s, at the extreme will come in 3s. If you are not prepared for the first person, then you certainly will not be prepared for the second and third. If you've been lucky at one time or another in that situation, you won't be lucky like that forever. So it's easier just to live by that rule of thumb. Second, map knowledge. Map knowledge is important because the map doesn't control you. You control the map. If you understand the map, you understand choke points, you understand routes and flow, you have full understanding of where your opponents can go. And you can understand what your opponents are going to do. With that being said, you can put yourself in your opponent's place to figure out what their movements will be depending on the situation. If you're playing against a team that is down, let's say 6-on-6, and it's down by like 2 players and there's only 4 of them, and they're down by 20 plus points, they're gonna camp. They're gonna probably stay in the back of their spawn or just come out of their spawn and pretty much camp and try to hold ground until 2 other people end up spawning in or end up entering into the game. And you can completely and totally control an enemy team like that. You can control your own team doing it that way. So gun skill, map knowledge. The third part, which I find to be, as I've gotten older and as I've seen and played more Call of Duty, I find it more and more it's made itself more and more true even up till now, is I like to call it teammate manipulation, but or most people like calling it just manipulating of your teammates, using people as meat shields, so on and so forth. There's a couple different ways you can go about it. The general way I tend to do that is, if I do have my mic plugged in, I like to coordinate with my teammates. So that's not actually manipulation. It's just a general idea and a general understanding of where I'm at, where my teammates are at, and where the enemies are at, and coordinating as a team. The manipulation part is a bit more subtle, believe it or not. Team manipulation comes from having weaker teammates, and what you essentially want to do, especially if you're the strongest one on the team, is you want to have your teammates, or at least one teammate, actually start following your beck and call, meaning that they actually start following your routes, they start seeing what you do. A generally bad player who has good instincts will copy what you do over the span of a game, over a couple of games, depending on how quick they pick it up, and then can maneuver themselves into position and be useful to you, because obviously you're the top person on the team and they want to be beneficial. At first, with any noob, I guess, or any person who starts a game, you want to get an understanding of the game. And how do you do that? You follow people who are better, and you get an understanding of what the situation is and how they handle it. By doing that, you can eventually, even if you can't actually speak to the person directly, you can learn how to communicate with that person, even if you guys don't have mics, and kind of follow that person's orders to a degree and get a better understanding of what they're thinking. And then you can make yourself more useful. Over the span of games, 1 or 2 players like that, man, can turn into some very solid players over the span of a night, and then over a couple of weeks, and so on and so forth. It's a process. It requires patience. But if you're good at being able to maneuver your teammates around, then you can generally have control. You can have map control, and to some degree, you can control gunfights, because you can figure out how to maneuver your weaker teammates against certain opponents on the opposition, while putting your stronger players in better positions so they can continue to hold ground and continue to push forward. Sorry, that was way more complicated. I just over-explained that for no reason. But in any case, so those were the general 3 things that I picked up early on playing Call of Duty. Wings was crucial in all of that because his style of camping allowed me to, 1, focus on my gun game, 2, it forced me to learn maps and to increase my map knowledge, and 3, teammate coordination, and then later on manipulation to some extent. Wings provided all of those things. I feel that back in Wings' day, he's probably one of the best campers that there were, because of the fact that once he cemented himself into a position, it was extremely hard to get out. There are videos out there, if you could still find them, that because I remember watching them when I was younger, where whole teams would try to go at him and get him out of a particular spot. And Wings was a very active camper, so he could very easily move himself from point to point to point. When Wings picks a spot to camp, he doesn't just pick this corner like DSP or this bathroom or something that closes him in and just cements himself there. That's fundamentally stupid. And that right there, I think, in a lot of ways, kind of explains DSP as a whole. Whereas Wings will pick a section to camp and then maneuver himself to different points within this area that suits his needs. Once everything has been done with that, he abandons it and moves on to the next point. Always trying to keep ground and continuing to try to acquire ground and whatnot while keeping what he has. I always felt that was important about what Wings was doing in his early Call of Duty days. Like I said, it didn't translate to what he does now, sadly. So those are some of the things that Wings had a small part in contributing to Call of Duty in a lot of ways, and then just stuff I ended up taking from Call of Duty later. So to see Wings kind of fall the way he did is an interesting type of situation. The whole point of the Wings report is just to kind of give you guys an idea of what he does on a weekly basis. I won't be able to cover all of it, but I'll try to cover most of it and just give you my opinion of it. I'm not here on any side of, I guess, either one of the, I'm not on either side of Wings. I'm just observing, to be honest with you. If he does stupid shit, I'll call him out on it. Why not? To be honest. But I'm not here to watch the guy lose his house or anything like that. Because sadly, it looks like his mother's doing a very good job trying to do that on her own. In any case, we're going to start from what I feel is one of the more pivotal aspects of Wings. But before I do that, let me actually introduce you to Wings. This is Wings. Now, this isn't what Wings looks like now. Well, that's debatable. Some people say Wings does look similar to what you're seeing right now, though he may have slimmed down a little bit. I think when Wings went into surgery, like I said, don't hold me to all this, Wings was at the 450 plus mark, a little more, a little bit more, I think. And I think Wings claims to be somewhere at the 350 mark, a little more, a little less. And there's a lot of debate on what the situation is with that. Actually, as of maybe last week or the week before, because I go to a couple of different channels for Wings, like I do with DSP, there was the slim mirror magic trick that everybody's saying Wings did, where he took a picture of himself, of his progress up to a certain point, which is recent, and he may have manipulated the picture. Some people say that he didn't. It was the mirror itself that caused the illusion, if it even was an illusion, so on and so forth. There's a lot that's going on about that. It's a very interesting conversation that we'll touch on. But either which way, this is what Wings looks like before his surgery. Surgery that he ended up basically doing I don't know if I call it a fundraiser, but raised X amount of money to do. Somewhere around the area, about $25,000, give or take. Quite a bit of money. There's a lot of debate on how much weight has he lost. There's debates whether he even had the surgery. There are debates where the money is. and Wings isn't necessarily helping his cause. It does look like he's losing weight, but then you just bought yourself a new car, a scavenged or wrecked Mustang for about 7 to 10,000 last time I heard. I know that El Presador, the biblical beast himself, has been pretty much ranting on Wings about that over the last couple weeks. It's been funny. I'm definitely going to go over those. There's a lot going on with Wings right now, to be perfectly honest with you. On top of him passing people's personal information around to get doxxed, at least allegedly, he's done quite a bit of shit. The best way I felt to start all of this off is to start off with this moment right here. This is considered by FPS Kyle to be one of the darkest things he's ever seen on a Wings of Redemption stream. This is brought to us by Sean Ranklin. Shouts out to Sean Ranklin. And this was posted on March 22nd of 2018. So I want you to hear what FPS Kyle thinks of this whole situation. And so you're going to hear the whole video in its entirety. It's only about 1.5 minutes long. And then I'm going to jump in and I'm going to actually give you my opinion on what they saw. So hopefully you guys find that to be interesting. Hopefully. But if not, you know, at least I tried. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Wing Report. And let's go ahead and get started. And let's get started in the most proper way possible. Shall we? Cue.
I have a picture of me in the 200s, actually. I'll just grab it.
I was watching a stream clip the other day, and it was probably the darkest thing I'd ever seen in Wings' stream before. And he went and produced a photograph, a framed picture, and he was like, this is me when I weighed, I want to say 240 pounds. And he shows the camera, and he's big, but he's 240 pounds, you know? Mm-hmm. And then he looks at that picture.
This is me when I was like 14. I think I was like 240, 250 in that picture.
And something happens. Something deep happened. He was just like a loss of hope. Like there was a moment where he was like, that's where I was, and this is where I am. It was a dark moment. That we weren't laughing at that. We were like, oh, shit got real. Yeah, it was a dark, dark moment. But then he started eating his banquet meal, and that perked us right back up because he chews like a dog, you know, just chomp, chomp, swallow, and that banquet meal's gone. It became a trend in the comment box that was like, what, bro, chew. We would count the chews. He would go, chew, chew, swallow. And then when he was done with it, he starts scraping up all the gravy with the fork and like getting all the juices that were in the bottom of the plastic tray. And we're just like, this is not a diet. This is not diet food. Those streams are fascinating to me.
Okay, so that's FPS Kyle giving his input on the situation. So allow me to give you mine. I agree with what Kyle said 100%, to be honest with you, but I want to look at it from a slightly different angle, if you will allow me to do so. Wing grabbing this picture of him when he's about 14 years old, he's about 250 pounds, I believe. It's quite a bit. Here, let me pause it there. For a 15-year-old, I could see where Kyle's coming from, where, you know, he's kind of, it's a sense of reflection where, you know, look at me now. Well, look at me where I was at then and look at me now. But let's go a little bit deeper. What if, and I would assume this happens to most children at this age, especially if they're this heavy, that they make a general, he's 14. So at 14, you're thinking about what your future is going to be. You hope it's going to be different than what it is now, right? You're hoping that it's going to be different than what things are going for you right now. And you're hoping that you'll be in a better place, you know, in the future. So what if when Wings first took a look at this picture, he ended up getting a flashback to when he was 14 or however old he was at the time. And he looked at himself and he remembered at a point when he was looking at himself into the mirror and he's like, promise me, you know, this is 14-year-old Wings looking into the mirror, telling his future self in a subconscious type of way, promise me you won't let me stay like this forever. Promise me that all of the bullshit that I'm dealing with in school, if he was dealing with anything, or the nonsense he's dealing with his family, all of this bullshit, that all this was worth something. It meant something, and that I'm going to learn from this. And in turn, I'm going to be better in 10, 15 years from now. Because I think Wings is like 32, 33, I think. Something like that. He's not far off from what DSP is. Like 4 or 5 years, I think. So let's say, like I said, 15 plus years or so. Promise me that you won't let me be like this in another 10 years. So let's say that's what the actual promise is. Now let's continue with this real fast. So yet again, when it shows everybody the picture, right? Beer scratch, didn't sniff his fingers. Good for you, Wings. And like I said, he was 250 pounds at this point. It's pretty big. It's a whole lot of Wendy's chili. Now this is the part that I want you to look at. So now Wings takes a look at himself, and subconsciously he remembers that promise. He remembers that, Jesus Christ, I did make that promise to myself that I wouldn't get there. I promised myself that I would be better than I was then, that I would do better. And Wings seems to give a shit about his family quite a bit. And not to say that he hasn't done much for his family, to be honest with you. But I think his outlook was much, much different than what the result was. And I think that is what makes this a dark moment, is that he's looking, and because how intense Wings is looking at this picture is so telling. It's telling of an individual who has failed himself. But not just in the current. He's failed his past self in a way that he can't make up for that. All he can do is continue to look forward, similar to DSP in a lot of ways. But that hurts. Because how many times has he walked past that picture? How many times has he seen that picture before this moment? Right? So let's go off this. I think Wings has seen that picture quite a few times. He's looked at that picture he's seen that picture quite a few times. This is his first time actually looking at it. You know what I mean? Like you when you wake up in the morning, man, and you look at, I don't know, you look at your environment, your workspace, the people you hang out with, so on and so forth. You see all of these things every single day. But have you ever really taken a hard look? Not everybody can say that. Because life comes at you fast, and it's hard to do those things. And so him keeping this picture, I think, is pivotal. But this is his first time of really looking at it. You know what I mean? He's seen it quite a few times, but this is his first time really looking at it. And that's what makes this situation dark. That's what makes it hurtful to some degree. And that second look tells it all. Because he took a real hard look at it the first time. But the second look, though, proves kind of the point. You know what I mean? Where he's remembering the promise the first time around, but the second time, he's kind of resided himself to where he's at now. And he's like, I couldn't do it. For whatever reason, I couldn't do it. I couldn't live up to that as I should have. For whatever reason. Now, this is where the comfort part comes into play. Now Kyle and all of them say he's like a dog. He definitely don't look like he chewed too much. But this is what ended up getting Wings into the positions he's in, the position that he was in the first place. He's one of these people, right, who has a hard time dealing with reality. He has a hard time dealing with what's in front of him and addressing that problem. So instead, they find things to kind of crowd their space. They find ways to ignore the problem instead of facing it. Ladies and gentlemen, no matter how big or small a problem is, you have to address it. Because if not, it's not going nowhere. It's really not. You're going to have to deal with it sooner than later. Do it now. Do it now before the damn thing consumes you later. And when I say that it's going to consume you, this is exactly what it did. Wings' problems consumed him, which led to this, which led to the excessive eating and this, that, and the third. It was his only way. It was one of his few ways of comforting himself. And Wings, being like most people back in those days, DSP is a good example of all that, is let his internet success define who he was, while the man behind the mic, the man behind the camera, say, "Oh, it's your boy Jordy," he has real problems that he won't address because he's too scared to. He let the online persona end up being the justification for why he's where he's at, while continuing to ignore the underlying problems, which led him to where he's at now. No one's going to love you forever online. Better people come along, so on and so forth. You may still have a following, and that's great. You know what I'm saying? Everybody needs that. But you can't expect people online to prop you up. You know what I mean? They didn't come to you for that. None of them signed up or subscribed to Wings of Redemption's channel to be a crutch. You know what I'm saying? Like, the fact that people care about you and whatnot and want to see you do well. He's developed friends through online who really did be his crutch, if not his forklift in some positions and in some situations. That's a blessing. But at the same time, if you're not strong enough to stand on your own too, how can you expect other people to help you? DSP is another example of that. One Day Matt's a big example of that. And this is where all the problems start. Food was just an outlet. You know what I mean? Food and rage, for the most part, are generally his outlet, his way of getting things done. Now, I don't know. It seems a little bit different. He seems to be a bit more mellow. He's quick to just turn shit off. I haven't seen him fling a controller in a while. But then again, he's tired of seeing the compilations of that. You're online. You live online. You've been living online for, what, a decade? You know? More or less? Of course people are going to clip everything. When you gave yourself over, you gave yourself over to everything that comes with it, the good and the bad. It's almost like a marriage to some degree. It's an interesting situation when you think about it. So let me go ahead and just remove that for right now. So that's what I really take from that dark moment. It's Wings looking at himself, possibly had made a promise to himself back in the day and he couldn't fulfill it. And that must hurt. That must really hurt, because it's failure on a level that you really can't take back. There is no, I'm sorry for that, if you will. I mean, don't get me wrong, ladies and gentlemen, he can forgive himself. He can, but he won't. Because how do you forgive yourself when you failed yourself? And probably one of the few things he ever asked himself to do, to be better. And maybe he looked at Call of Duty or online in general, as his way of doing it. And Wings has had quite a bit of success online. You know what I mean? Even now, to some degree, you know, all the rage and all the memeing and all that silly shit out the way, he's still regarded as one of the godfathers, if you will, of the Call of Duty commentator community. He's helped elevate quite a few people. But when his notoriety faded and whatnot, instead of making changes, as everybody has to do eventually, he kind of rode that wave out just to see what would happen. Maybe because he was too scared to do anything else. Maybe because he was too heavy to do anything else. Which led to the situation that he's at now, to be honest. And it's kind of sad to see that. So when you see in these clips, for example, where he's like, I'm just trying to milk this for, you know, whatever it's worth, man. I don't give a shit about games, this, that, and the third. To a degree, I believe him. But sadly, it's yet again him lying to himself. Just trying to find a safe space to kind of fit in. And it's kind of sad for someone who had been an influence back in the day. He was someone that people respected. He was someone that people looked up to. He taught a generation, to an extent, how to play the game, and then gave them the opening to go off and learn other ways of playing that game, even if he never meant to do it. You know what I mean? In a lot of ways, he helped establish that. So to see him fall the way he did is kind of harsh. Now, the first person that I ever really talked to in the DSP community, Jackal's Lair, I actually did like a little podcast with him talking about who was worse. And I still, to this day, hold that DSP is so much worse. So much worse. But Wings isn't without his fucking stripes either. He's done some really stupid shit. He's done some kind of heinous shit that didn't need to happen. And he let it happen because he was angry, he was out of control of himself, so he couldn't control his actions. So he lashed out any way he could. The people that he perceived that hurt him, they may have hurt him. Who could say? He wanted to lash out at them any way he could, and he didn't care what the repercussions of that is. Now, Wings is another interesting person in the same light as a Rich from Review Tech USA, who says that, oh, I've watched DSP for a number of times over years, and I've learned from his mistakes and so on and so forth. But it's funny how Rich, Wings, and Mundane Matt all made those same exact mistakes. I wouldn't say the exact ones, but they've certainly made similar mistakes. So how much did you really learn? How much did you really take away from these experiences? I don't know if you can justify everything that happens to Wings. I'm not here to say otherwise. Some of that stuff is just, whoa. Oh, Black Rob type shit. Whoa. They went at Wings' neck in a very heavy sort of way. Whether he deserved it or not, I couldn't tell you. I don't think he deserved all of it. But they came at Wings quite a bit. But then again, when Wings thought he had high ground, he was quick to piss and shit on everybody below him. I mean, shit rolls downhill, sure. But eventually it piles up. And after a while, that hill, all that shit and everything that he threw at people, eventually it got higher than the hill that he was initially standing on. And it toppled over on him in the worst possible way. Ladies and gentlemen, this is just, like I said, an opening example, I suppose, of what the Wings report will be moving forward. There are a multitude of people in this community and the Wings community that you can kind of draw upon. A lot of these people I've watched, like I said, Sean Ranklin, Leen, Wingtings, Liquid Richards back into the mix, which I'm happy for because that guy does great shit. There's someone that I've stumbled upon recently, Conway Conman. I really, really enjoy his channel, and he's linked to like an archive channel that has Wings stuff too. So that's a good look if you guys are looking for that. I'll leave some of these guys down in the description so you guys can check them out and whatnot, because this is where I'm going to be drawing a lot of this from. If you guys haven't seen this video before, I will leave that down in the description also so you can check that out. So I'll make sure all my sources have been cited. Wings is an interesting character. I think a lot of people don't get into him as much as DSP because he's kind of depressing. To be honest with you, Wings is kind of one of these individuals who he only had so much fight in him, and he's kind of just accepted his fate to a degree. And even though he's trying to change his life for the better, he's still making pretty stupid moves, even if he doesn't think so. Wings is an interesting character. So this, so going through what he goes through should be an interesting walkthrough, I think. But only time will tell on that, ladies and gentlemen. So that's the Wings report. Let me know what you guys think. And like I said, we'll go from there. If you guys think there's an interesting video you want me to go over, let me know in the comment section below. And we will do that. If not, we'll just continue on the road of Wings. I don't know what day I'm going to post these yet. I always initially wanted to do this on Wednesday. So, you know, like that whole, I don't know about wing spots in your places. But some of the like mom and pop spots or great wing houses in my area, they usually have like 50-cent wings Wednesday, and then they have like all you can eat wings Saturdays. So those are probably one of the 2 days I'm going to shoot for, but I don't know when I'm actually going to post this, but I'll just throw it out on a random day just to kind of get a feel for what people are thinking, and then we'll go from there. In any case, that's Wings, but that's not all of them. Wings has some depth to him, just like anybody else. And before I go ahead and close this out, I'd like to push something that I've always pushed in my DSP content that I hope one day actually comes to fruition. I've always been of the opinion that Wings and DSP should collab for various reasons, to be perfectly honest with you. I think there's very good reasons on why they need to. Not to say that one man needs the other. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it would be beneficial if they actually did, to be honest. You've got two men who come from different backgrounds as it pertains to gaming, one from the FPS aspect of it and the other person from fighting games, who can kind of come together and can do some pretty impressive things if both men can get over certain aspects of themselves. I think Wings is more willing, whereas DSP is resentful, to be honest. DSP is more resentful of, if not Wings directly, of everything that Wings represents, which is crazy to me, to be honest, but it has to be something. And the thing is that's interesting about the Wings community as well as the DSP community is there's crossover. There's already natural crossover between the two. And it's kind of like CVS 2, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? I've always, and I still have this hope, but I always like kind of want to see, I want to see a collaboration between like Snorpernell and Sean Ranklin, and like Mr. Huffstuffs or Mighty D and like Wingtings or something. And then there's a bunch of dudes who make like little musical skits and stuff on DSP. So like I would definitely like to see Almighty Tevin on like a Liquid Richard track. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it could be amazing if you think about it. And not to say that you need DSP and Wings to collaborate to make that happen, but it's something different. You know what I mean? And I think it's something a bit refreshing that you can have two communities that can kind of cross over like that and collab and not tear each other apart, which is something that you see on online communities all the time. You're seeing that in the you saw basically how the internet blood sports communities completely obliterated themselves. You're seeing that in the anime and manga community to some degree. The anime community for sure. Goddamn, there's all kinds of ruthless shit going on over there. You're seeing that in the sports community a little bit, and that doesn't even make no sense. Why you guys are fighting over LeBron? That's on some new shit there. Boxing has always been stable. Mixed martial arts has generally been stable. I mean, every community has its hangups, but I always felt that would be a really good collab. As for Low Tier God and the kind of the situation that floats around him, he could kind of fit either which way with those guys. He has way more flexibility, in my personal opinion, than a DSP and a Wings. But at the end of the day, he's going to do what he feels is better for him and what's more profitable for him. Wings is willing no matter what, and DSP just hates everybody until he can use them. So that's kind of what we're up for. But what are your thoughts on that situation in its entirety? And just give me some, just give me a little bit of feedback on that. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, there you go. Like I said, as these go on, hopefully there'll be more to talk about. There always is with Wings. I kind of, to be very honest with you, I kind of want to go over the Lion's Den videos that Wings did. Basically what that was is, this is when he actually went into the Discord of his detractors, if you will, and he actually confronted them and actually wanted to hear their grievances and so on and so forth. I think he's done it twice, and I remember watching both of them, and I have to give Wings this. He's brave for doing that. Don't get me wrong, I'm not gonna, he's not gonna get Gamer of the Year for me or anything, but he's brave for doing that because DSP would never have the heart to do that. He wouldn't be, DSP wouldn't have been man enough to do that. I give Wings that he at least tried to go in there and try to engage with these individuals and try to figure out what's going on. And even though all the stuff that got thrown back in his face, stuff that he did was thrown into his face, he still confronted it. Granted, he bitched out in a lot of situations, but he at least tried to confront it. DSP would never do that. DSP would never do that. Which leads into the next thing that I'm slightly having an attitude about is DSP not doing, or it seems like DSP is not going to do the podcast. I think it was confirmed with the Drunken Peasants, which, if I had to be honest with you, I kind of knew that was going to happen either which way. But I had some plans for that, and I had like this thing for the Eyes of March that was gonna happen and shit. I was gonna try to make it all funny and whatnot, and I might still do some of it, but we'll see. I have to talk to G Money. We're gonna actually go over it because he's actually been part of, well, he's observed the Drunken Peasants for a long time, so he has some great insight. So I have to do a video with him on that, so that should be cool. But it doesn't look like that's gonna happen, ladies and gentlemen. He was off I'm recording this on the 12th, Tuesday. He was off yesterday, being Monday, and that was his last chance of doing it before tomorrow's retrospective event. And I don't think he's gonna do it. I think he ended up getting cold feet. I think he realized that it wasn't a good idea. I think he knew that the backlash was going to be heavy for him. And I just don't think he had it in him. Wings might have done it, but DSP certainly wasn't going to do it. And it's sad. But maybe I'll still do something for it. We'll see. I think the Eyes of March falls on a Friday, I think. So we'll see. Either which way. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time. Thank you for your time. And I guess I'll see you guys for the first official episode of the Wing Report. So look out for that. Shouts out to everybody in the DSP community as well as in the Wings community and whatnot. Hope you guys continue doing what you're doing, because as a fan, I appreciate it. And I guess that's all I have to say about it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Wings Report. I don't have a catchphrase or nothing for that yet. I will figure that out on the way, because that's the fun part. I'll see you guys for the next video, though. Take care of yourselves.
You'll be pleased to know our mutual friend is doing quite well in Lady Sansa's service.
Good. One of my better ideas.
And it seems the Grand Maester has found his way into a black cell. Well played, my Lord Hand. But should I be worried? Janus, Slint, Pycelle, the small council grows smaller every day.
The council has a reputation for serving past hands poorly. I don't mean to follow Ned Stark to the grave.
Power is a curious thing, my lord. Are you fond of riddles?
Why? Am I about to hear one?
3 great men sit in a room. A king, a priest, and a rich man. Between them stands a common sellsword. Each great man bids the sellsword kill the other 2. Who lives, who dies?
Depends on the sellsword.
Does it? He has neither crown, nor gold, nor favor with the gods.
He has a sword, the power of life and death.
But if it's swordsmen who rule, why do we pretend kings hold all the power? When Ned Stark lost his head, who was truly responsible? Joffrey, the executioner, or something else?
I've decided I don't like riddles.
Power resides where men believe it resides. It's a trick, a shadow on the wall. And a very small man can cast a very large shadow.